They sent after them two men, Amr ibn al-As and Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah. But in the courts of the Negus, the messengers stood before the king. We believed in him and we followed. The king listened in silence, his eyes softening. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. My beloved brothers and sisters, today we witness a chapter written in tears, patience and unwavering faith. When the light of Islam began to spread, it did not spread into open arms. It spread into resistance, hostility and cruelty. Yet, even amidst suffering, their hearts remained firm. For they knew that Allah sees every tear, hears every whispered prayer, and never abandons those who stand for truth. But sometimes, even the bravest hearts need refuge. And so, the Prophet, peace be upon him, in his mercy, guided his followers to a place of justice, Abyssinia, ruled by a king who did not oppress. This was the first migration, not a migration of fear, but a migration of faith. The persecution in Makkah had grown unbearable. The believers were mocked, beaten, starved, and dragged through the dust of the streets. Yet their voices never broke, and their hearts never turned back. For every wound they bore, faith only deepened. The Prophet, peace be upon him, watched their suffering with a heart heavy with compassion. He could not yet command them to fight, nor could he shield them from Quraysh's cruelty. But the mercy of Allah was near. One night, he gathered the companions and said softly, "There is a land across the sea, a land ruled by a just king who wrongs no one. Go there and stay until Allah grants you relief." It was Abyssinia, Al-Habasha, a land of distant mountains and rivers, ruled by a Christian king known as An-Najashi. And so began the first migration in the path of Allah. Under the veil of night, small groups of believers slipped out of Makkah, men, women and children, leaving behind their homes, their trade and all they knew. Among them were Uthman ibn Affan, may Allah be pleased with him, and his wife Ruqayya, may Allah be pleased with her, the daughter of the Prophet, peace be upon him. The Prophet, peace be upon him, raised his hands and said, "They are the first to migrate in the cause of Allah after Ibrahim and Lut, may Allah be pleased with them." As they crossed the Red Sea, the wind carried their prayer over the waves. Behind them, Quraysh's fury burned like a storm. Ahead of them, the mercy of Allah awaited. They had lost everything, yet they felt richer than kings. The Quran would one day speak of them. وَالَّذِينَ هَاجَرُوا فِي اللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا ظُلِمُوا لَنُبَوِّئَنَّهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَلَأَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ أَكْبَرُ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. Those who emigrated for Allah after being wronged, we will surely settle them in a good place in this world, but the reward of the hereafter is greater, if only they knew. When Quraysh learned of the migration, their pride ignited. They have escaped, they said, and found refuge with a foreign king. They sent after them two men, Amr ibn al-As and Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah, each laden with gifts of leather and gold for the courtiers of the Negus. They were to demand that the Muslims be handed back. But in the courts of the Negus, the messengers stood before the king and his bishops. "O king," said Amr, "some foolish youths from our people have abandoned their religion and they have not entered yours. They have brought a new belief unknown to us and to you. Send them back with us, for their people know them best." The courtiers nodded, their hands heavy with the gifts of Quraysh. But the Negus, a man of justice, said, "No, I will not hand them over unless I hear from them myself." And so the believers were summoned. They entered the court, wary but composed, their faces bright with the serenity of faith. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, stepped forward. As their spokesman, the king asked, "What is this religion for which you have left your people?" Ja'far, may Allah be pleased with him, replied, "O king, we were a people of ignorance. We worshipped idols, ate the flesh of the dead, and committed shameful acts. The strong among us oppressed the weak. Then Allah sent us a man whose lineage, truthfulness and trust we all knew. He called us to worship Allah alone and to abandon the idols of our ancestors. He commanded us to speak the truth, to honor ties of kinship, to care for the neighbor and the orphan, and to keep away from all that is unlawful. We believed in him and we followed." The king listened in silence, his eyes softening. "Do you have with you anything from what he brought from your Lord?" he asked. Ja'far, may Allah be pleased with him, nodded and recited the verses revealed about Maryam and Isa, Mary and Jesus, may peace be upon them. وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ مَرْيَمَ إِذِ انْتَبَذَتْ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا مَكَانًا شَرْقِيًّا فاتخذت من دونهم حجابا فأرسلنا إليها روحنا فتمثل لها بشرا سويا قالت إني أعوذ بالرحمن منك إن كنت تقيا قال إنما أنا رسول ربك لأهب لك غلاما زكيا قالت أنى يكون لي غلام ولم يمسسني بشر ولم أك بغيا قال كذلك قال ربك هو علي هين. And mention in the book Mary, when she withdrew from her family to a place toward the east, she took a veil apart from them. And we sent to her our spirit, and he appeared to her as a man in all respects. She said, "I seek refuge in the most merciful from you, if you fear Allah." He said, "I am only the messenger of your Lord, to grant you a pure son." She said, "How can I have a son when no man has touched me, nor have I been unchaste?" He said, "So it will be. Your Lord says, it is easy for me." The words flowed through the hall like light. The bishops wept until their scrolls were soaked. The negus took a small stick and said, "By Allah, what you have recited and what Jesus brought come from the same source." Then he turned to the Quraysh envoys and said, "Go, I will not hand them over." Defeated, the messengers returned to Makkah, but the believers remained safe under the Negus's protection. In Abyssinia, they built a small community of prayer and peace, free to worship Allah without fear. When word reached the Prophet, peace be upon him, he raised his hands in gratitude. The light of Islam had now crossed the sea, and the call was no longer bound to one land. Those who had left everything found a new home through faith, fulfilling the promise of their Lord. فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ أَنِّي لَا أُضِيعُ عَمَلَ عَامِلٍ مِّنكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنثَى. So their Lord responded to them, "Indeed, I do not allow the deeds of any doer among you to be lost, whether male or female." Under the protection of a righteous king, the early believers found peace, and Islam found its first refuge on earth. And though Makkah burned with hostility, the message had already taken flight. Sometimes Allah does not lift the trial. He moves you to a place where you can endure it. In the next episode, inshallah, we will witness how Islam continues